Time stops when I'm falling for you. The world stops spinning. My head is spinning too. Time stops when I'm falling for you. Should I stop or are you falling for me? As your world starts spinning, is your head spinning too? Should I stop or are you falling for me? As your world starts spinning, is your head spinning My heart stopped when I first saw you. My world stopped spinning. Now my world revolves around you. Did your heart stop when you first saw me? Did your world stop spinning? Does your world revolve around me too? Me too. Me too. Should I stop or are you falling for me? Is your world stop spinning? Is your head spinning too? Did your heart stop when you first saw me? Did your world stop spinning? Does your
위대한 정적이 그 도전을 받아들이니 오너라.
me too? Me
It's just all the one, even if there's nowhere to go. What I want to say, I've been still making your shadow. I saw to all for me, all the way I'll beginning. Find me, and this world, and this world.
진격할 시간이다, 제군들! 짜릿하게 가보자고! 찌릿할 거다, 가볍게 두 번! 좀 거치적거리는데 잘 봐두라고!
Nobody, even if there's no way anyone cannot blame me, I know. This can't be sure, so we together, we'll leave again, dream.
지금부터 내가 지휘한다.
This time we swallow, this time shades on different things, so past away. Time makes me loud and colors. Just tell me will I say it? It's too late to stop the fight. Life begins to go.
시끄럽군요. 조용하게 만들어드리죠. 이따위 실력으로 죽어. 네 결의는 겨우 이 정도냐?
Sometimes we believe we went in was an illusionary. The reality was cruel and luminous. I will be open and the abyss of illusion forever, forever.
정화를 시작하겠다.
Times come again, leaving our crimes to the world. I still have the smell of blood. Why I killed them? What is myself? What I am just tell me. Even though I far too quiet in me. No, it's too late to stop. We'll leave again, sleep on pain, fight so now. Take all this time to swallow. This time says something through the scenes of past away. Time makes me loud and color. Just tell me will I see it, see it. It's too late to stop the fight. Life begins to go. I feel to know I solely to myself till the end. Whoa,
받아들일 거예요. 제 모든 것을. 모든 것은 각본대로. 당신들은 배우 앞에서 너무 많은 걸 보여줬어요.
여기가 공세 종말점이다.